Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Richard Mogan and welcome to this week's Stock Market Outlook video. This is a video where each and every weekend I post kind of an outlook video for the stock market and analyze how it performed the past week. I also give a brief overview of how the stocks from my previous watch list did. We had some key breakouts, especially from LSCC during this past week, so make sure you watch until the end of the video. But before we go on with the usual series of events, I do want to give a brief shout out to my video that I posted yesterday, which was the second episode of my Python for Finance series. And in this video, I walk you through step by step how to create a program that can backtest different strategies. So if you want to learn how to program in Python, go ahead and click that link in the top of the description. It's definitely worth it. And I think everybody can benefit from learning how to program and also kind of how to think like a programmer, because often when you're trading, you want to take emotions out of it and be as systematic as possible. So really encourage you to check that out if you haven't already. But let's get on with the big picture article from investors.com. So far, they talk about how the large caps had a great Friday, but we did see some selling in the mid cap names, and we'll see that when we look at the IWM chart. You can see that because of the time restriction, we actually lost a distribution day on the NASDAQ, which is big. And they also talk about how the FFTY, the IBD 50 ETF, has outperformed the market since the start of this year. And this is a promising sign for growth stocks and growth stock investors like ourselves, because it means that breakouts are working and stocks are carrying on with their moves. They also talk about Apple and Target briefly, just kind of analyzing their most recent runs. And overall, the market pulse from IBD is a confirmed uptrend, and we now have 2 distribution days on the S&P 500 and only 1 on the NASDAQ. So now going on to wishingwealthball.com, you can see that since October 16th, we've had a green GMI signal. So it's a fine time to be investing, but we'll look at how extended the major indexes are when we look in the chart in just a second. Dr. Wish also mentions how NOW now had a green line breakout on Thursday, but you can see that there's not that much volume coming in supporting the move. So we'll see whether or not this actually takes hold. But now that we've read the big picture article and also looked at wishingwealthball.com, let's go ahead and analyze the indexes for ourselves. And starting off with the QQQ, you can see that we are still above this upper trend line here, which I don't think is a very exact science, but it is something to be aware of. And you can see that we're still just carrying on riding this 4-day moving average upwards. And we had a good day on this past Friday with the close being above the high of the day, even though it dropped down at the very beginning. And looking at the hourly chart, you can actually see all these buyers coming in at the very end of the day, which is a promising sign. Going back to the daily, I want to go to the Guppy chart, and you can see it's a clear red, white, blue pattern, which is perfect. And you can see how well these trends show what the indexes are doing at that time. And now looking at the SPY, you'll see pretty much the exact same trends. And going back to the normal chart, you've got the same good close on this past Friday and the same overall uptrend riding up that 4-day moving average. So overall, the QQQ and SPY both have strong charts, but they've been overbought for a while. And although stocks can stay extended for a vast period of time, it is something to be aware of. And you may want to focus only on the best names and stocks that you already have a sizable gain in, and kind of double down into those. So now let's go ahead and look at the IWM, which is the Russell 2000 index. And you can see that it had a really good start to the week, but then on this past Friday, it had a gap up and then a bad close on above average volume. So definitely a negative Friday for mid cap names. And again, you want to see mid cap supporting the moves of the SPY and the NASDAQ. So this isn't a good sign, and it's just something to be aware of. Let's go ahead and look at the FFTY. And you can see it gapped up and closed still up on the day on this past Friday, but you can see the clear uptrend it's been in since the start of the year. Let's go to the yearly chart. You can see it's already increased 5%, which is a pretty big move for the FFTY. So now that we've talked about the relevant indexes and index ETFs, let's go ahead and take a look at my watch list for this past week. So first up, we've got our biggest winner for the week, LSCC, and you can see it had a really nice breakout on this past Friday on really big volume. You can see almost 7 times the average 50-day volume. So definitely institutions are taking up a stake in this stock, and it's definitely one to watch. Be careful of entering early next week because it is extended at this point. And perhaps if it revisits the buy point, that gives you a chance to jump on in. We also had NEO, which broke out early in the week, but then faded a little bit on this past Friday. But still you see signs of institutional accumulation coming in here, which is a good thing. We also had SPXC, which also broke out early in the week and then had a pretty bad Friday with the close being near the low of the day. However, you can see that this volume wasn't above average, so this doesn't worry me that much. Next, we've got ERI, which also had a nice breakout on this past Friday on above average volume, and you can see 2 straight days of above average volume. So it's breaking out of this nice flat base right here. Next, we have PGNY, which had a really nice breakout on Tuesday, but then faded and fell right back into the base, which is a sign of weakness. FISV just steadily rose, and you had a nice accumulation day on this past Friday on above average volume. Next, we've got KLAC, which is still below this resistance value here. And you can see on this past Friday, it had a bad day with selling on above average volume. So definitely a warning sign here on this day. Now, XP is one of the promising IPOs that I had on my list, and it's performing very well. You can see it really tightened up here and then broke out on this past Friday. So I would want to see 50 days here so I can tell what's average volume and what's not. But you can see that the volume dried up here, and then on this past Friday, you had a big jump. So one to watch, definitely, and if it breaks through this line, I will most likely take up a position. Next, we've got ATKR, which also just kind of went sideways and didn't really move through this line here, which I was watching closely. VCTR, which I still own, broke out and then just kind of went sideways and then dropped down on this Friday on below average volume. So I'll still be watching this stock and holding it because I really like its fundamentals. Now, TTD still hasn't formed another green line breakouts, but it might be starting kind of a handle pattern. So this is still one to watch, and it's still a leader among its group. PFSI, you can see, is still just forming this sideways action here, and no clear movements one way or the other from it this week. CZZ is still also consolidating sideways under this line of resistance, and Ping finally broke out and then fell right back into the base as well. So look for another move up from this recent IPO. So overall, that is how the stocks on my watch list performed this week. We had a couple nice winners at the top of the list. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and find it useful. And if you did, please let me know by hitting that like button down below and also leaving a comment. But I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend, and with the day off on Monday, get some nice studying in for the start of the next trading week. But thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in future videos.